Warning, playing FPL is highly addictive. It may cause stress, a loss of free time, a resentment towards friends or colleagues, and a dislike to football in general. Please, FPL responsibly.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fixture Watch. Before starting, it's important to note that some blank game weeks and double game weeks are still up in the air at this point, and this is due to implications with the Carabao Cup final clashing with Game Week 28. So, any team that reaches that final, as well as their opponents in Game Week 28, will very likely have a blank game week then. But when those games get rescheduled is still yet to be confirmed, therefore the double game weeks are less clear at the moment. I'll do my best to explain this throughout the episode. For up-to-date news on the blank and double game week announcements though, why not check out today's sponsor, Fantasy Football Hub. Not only can you find comprehensive articles every game week at the Hub, as well as getting access to extensive Opta stats, you can also download an FPL planning spreadsheet which automatically updates as soon as any fixtures get rescheduled. Perfect for your blank and double game week planning. Fantasy Football Hub is the website I use to get all my stats for this channel, and you can do so as well by clicking the link in the description box below. You can also use the code FPLTV for a 10% discount on membership. At the top of the FDR table from Game Week 25 is the unbeaten Liverpool, who now have an incredibly kind run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks. With their double game week in 24 now done, the Reds face Southampton, West Ham and Bournemouth in their next 3 home games. In between those games, they also have trips to Norwich and Watford, with all 5 having a difficulty rating of 2 according to FPL. From an FPL perspective, not much needs to be said about the champions-elect, with Van Dijk, Alisson, Gomez, Robertson and Alexander-Arnold all viable options in defence, whilst Mo Salah, Firmino and Sadio Mane when he gets back from injury also remaining excellent options during this run, as they still have all the motivation to get this title wrapped up as soon as possible. Given their exceptional run of fixtures, and with them now keeping 7 clean sheets in their last 8 games, I feel it's no longer a question of whether or not you should triple up on their options, but rather which triple up to go for, and depending on your team structure, a case can be made for many of the combinations. Another team towards the top of the FDR table is the in-form Southampton, who, after their game away to Liverpool in Game Week 25, then have an excellent run of good fixtures. Following that tough visit to Anfield, Southampton then face Burnley, Villa, West Ham and Newcastle, 3 of which are at home. They then play Norwich away straight after Newcastle, meaning that 5 of their next 6 games have been given a difficulty rating of 2. Due to their kind run of fixtures, and considering the form that Southampton have been in lately, it does make the on-fire Danny Ings a very appealing option, a player that has bagged 13 goals in the last 18 game weeks. It's worth noting as well that Southampton have kept 3 clean sheets in their last 6 Premier League games, including ones against Chelsea and Spurs. So, if it's a budget defensive option you're looking for, perhaps McCarthy in goal or Stevens in defence could be handy options during this run, or at the very least provide some good cover on your bench. Sitting joint top of the FDR table from Game Week 25 was Sheffield United, with all 5 of their upcoming games having a difficulty rating of 2. However, be warned, despite their great fixtures, due to Aston Villa progressing to the final of the Carabao Cup, that now means that Sheffield United's fixture against them in Game Week 28 should get rescheduled. Therefore, Game Week 28 will likely be a blank game week now for Sheffield United and Aston Villa. The Blades currently boast the 2nd best defence in the Premier League, not just for clean sheets where they have 8, but also for goals conceded, only conceding 23 goals in 24 games. Because of this reliability for clean sheets, and due to their budget-friendly price, it sees many active managers now owning at least one of their defenders. Therefore, when the Blades do keep a clean sheet, it's very hard to notice any gains in terms of your FPL ranking. So, with an undoubtedly good run of upcoming fixtures now, is it time to really back their defence and double up on their defensive assets? Both Dean Henderson and George Baldock look to be very sensible options. However, with only 2% ownership, their left wing-back Ender Stevens could be a very interesting differential. In the last 6 game weeks, Stevens has created 8 chances, 5 more than Baldock and 7 more than John Lundstrom. So, despite not producing any attacking returns in that time, perhaps he is due one soon, along with his high clean sheet potential. If you do already have 2 or more Sheffield United players or are thinking to buy them, then just keep that blank game week in 28 in mind and be sure to have some cover. On the positive, that rescheduled fixture against Villa will have to squeeze into another game week soon, therefore giving the Blades a double game week at some point before the end of the season. Other teams with a nice run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks include Newcastle, Brighton and Crystal Palace, all who could offer some good value players throughout their squads. At Newcastle, Jamal Lascelles at just 4.2 million could be a very handy budget-friendly option, and from Brighton, Leandro Trossard has the potential to be an excellent differential, but does come with that slight risk of rotation. The last team to discuss towards the top of the FDR table is Arsenal, who in game week 25 face Burnley, a side they have an excellent record against, and then following that they play 3 of their next 4 at home. Now, Arsenal are another side who could be affected in game week 28 because their opponents Man City still have their semi-final in the Carabao Cup to finish. If Man City go through, then game week 28 should be a blank week for both Arsenal and Man City. Despite an improvement under Arteta and remaining unbeaten in the last 4 Premier League games, there's still not many viable FPL options that have emerged from this Arsenal side. However, in my opinion, there is one big opportunity now for us FPL managers, and that's the return from suspension for their key forward Aubameyang. Due to him getting sent off 3 game weeks ago, it's now seen his ownership drop to a lowly 14%. So, for the managers that are really seeking an effective differential, there's not many better than the Gabonese striker, and with Arsenal's improving fixtures in the next 5 game weeks, he could be an excellent option. If you are keen to bring in Aubameyang though, perhaps hold your transfer for now until the real transfer window closes on the 31st of January, because there has been some speculation about his departure. Unlikely of course, but it's worth waiting for confirmation until bringing him into your squad. So let's now look towards the bottom of the FDR table and see which teams have a less fortunate run of fixtures over the next 5 game weeks. Also, if you do find the Fixture Watch helpful, then be sure to drop a like on the video and most importantly get subscribed to FPL TV. You can also hit the notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. Speaking of Arsenal and Man City potentially blanking in game week 28, well, Man City currently find themselves towards the bottom of the FDR table, who, despite being fixture-proof, do have some less appealing games on the way, playing the likes of Leicester, Spurs and United all away from home. Certainly not ideal fixtures considering they also have the Champions League to think about soon. As already mentioned though, it's very important to note that if they beat United in their Carabao Cup semi-final on Wednesday, which they're currently winning 3-1, then their game week 28 fixture against Arsenal should be a blank game week. What is yet to be confirmed is when this game could get rescheduled, and there are some suggestions it may be as soon as game weeks 25 or 26, therefore a small chance of a double game week coming very soon. All I can say at this point is just keep an eye out for this, because until that's confirmed, it can completely change how we proceed with our Man City options. At the very bottom of the FDR table is West Ham, who in the next 5 game weeks face 3 very difficult away trips. The Hammers are away to Man City and Liverpool in back-to-back fixtures shortly, followed by another trip away to Arsenal in game week 29. They also head into these fixtures in pretty poor form, only managing 1 win in the last 5 games and being thrashed 4-1 by Leicester recently. I recorded this video before they face Liverpool on Wednesday evening, so that should give us further indication of their form and how they fare against the big sides. But considering their current form and looking at their fixtures, it's difficult to make a case for any of their players really, except maybe the returning Fabianski, who can be a handy option in goal for save points. Due to their double game week in 24, some managers did take a punt on West Ham options, with the likes of Noble and Haller proving quite popular. And to be fair, for that week it did pay off, with both getting points against Leicester. For those of you that did bring them in, I'd say you can happily keep them now for their home fixture against Brighton in game week 25, and then perhaps sell them from 26 onwards. You could easily move Haller to Southampton's Danny Ings from game week 26, which given the fixtures does seem like an absolute no-brainer. Another team with some tricky fixtures in the next few game weeks and could therefore be worth avoiding is Chelsea, who face 3 unpredictable games against Leicester, United and then Spurs next. Earlier this season, Chelsea were a goldmine of affordable good value FPL options which ticked over very nicely. But in recent weeks, with a dip in form and consistency, it is getting a bit harder to justify having them in our squads, especially with these difficult games coming up. Notably, they've only managed 2 clean sheets in their last 12 Premier League games, so defensively they do look like an easy avoid. In terms of their more popular players like Mason Mount and Abraham, given Chelsea's fixtures, there just seems to be better options elsewhere now. For example, Ings or Jimenez over Abraham and Jack Grealish instead of Mason Mount. In fairness to Abraham, he still has some very decent stats and has quietly picked up attacking returns in 4 of the last 5 game weeks. So, if you don't mind the bad fixtures, he can still be an option. The only other player I'd consider from Chelsea at this point though is perhaps Hudson-Odoi. He's currently a big differential with under 1% ownership and does come in at a bargain 5.3 million. That's not bad for a player whose team is currently in the top 4. Other teams towards the bottom of the FDR table include Bournemouth, who after Villa in game week 25 then have some very undesirable fixtures, Everton, who soon face Arsenal, United and Chelsea in consecutive games, as well as bottom of the league Norwich City, and in the next 5 game weeks the Canaries have none that have been given a difficulty rating of 2. There's been 2 standout options from Norwich this season, Timo Pukki and the extremely budget-friendly Todd Cantwell. In game week 25, they face Newcastle away, a side that Norwich did beat comfortably at the start of this season, so not particularly a bad fixture to play Pukki and Cantwell if you do have them in your squad. However, Newcastle have improved a lot since then, and it's Norwich's fixtures in general that all look quite difficult from an attacking perspective. After Newcastle, they face Liverpool, Leicester and Sheffield United, 3 of the best defences in the league, not to mention that away trip to Wolves that looks equally as difficult. At just 5 million, I still believe Todd Cantwell to be one of the best budget midfielders available in FPL. But given their difficult upcoming fixtures, if you do have a transfer spare and have the luxury of making a straight swap, then perhaps John Fleck of Sheffield United or Adama Traore at Wolves could be better alternatives now in this price range. Not essential, but something worth considering. And that wraps up this episode of the Fixture Watch. Hopefully you found it informative, and if so, please help the channel by dropping a like and most importantly getting subscribed to FPL TV. As always, you can also hit that notification bell so you always know when a new video goes live. FPL responsibly, and I'll catch you all very soon.